Here I am again today at Mount Bailey at Mount Carleton Provincial Park. I was here a few days ago, but never quite made it to the top. I ran out of time. I started losing light. It was getting dark, so I had to come back down before I made it to the peak. So I'm back today. Hopefully have a little bit more time today. Get to the peak. It's balmy minus 17 degrees with the wind chill. I think it's minus 28. So hopefully the camera batteries last long enough. Get a little bit of a video podcast. You can see the peak in the background, the frosted top of it shows how cold it is. I think I'll be all right once I get going, get moving. I'll warm up pretty quickly. So on the Mimosical road, comes up from the group campground just before the first entry of the trail. I'm going to bypass the first part of the trail because I did it the other day, enter a little bit up the road here, and then start to climb up the hill. Well, I'm here at the second trailhead to Mount Bailey. It's up the old road that comes up from the group campground. Bypasses a little bit of the lower section of the trail, but I'm in a little bit of a hurry. The only tracks I see for people are my own from the other day. So got the place to myself other than the animals. There's lots of trail tracks from coyotes to rabbits to mice to I don't see any fresh moose tracks, but there's some moose tracks from the other day when I was here that seem to follow the whole length of the trail. Great thing about the thaw that we had early January, got rid of a lot of the snow, so no need for snowshoes today. It's just straight walking. There's an old snowshoe trail base in the trail now where somebody went earlier. Great for walking on flat ground, but once you get off the flat ground, it gets a little slippery because it's packed in ice. So I'll pick and choose where I use that. And let's go into the trail and see what we can find. Well, I'm here at the second junction on the trail, up from the trailhead. The first junction is just a little bit below here, adds on to the lower trail. This junction here makes a loop close to the peak. If you go off this direction, then you're climbing up to the peak. There's another side trail up above that comes down around and meets up with this one. And then there's another trail that this joins up with that goes down over, crosses the road, and actually starts to climb up on Mount Sagamuk on the other side. My plan is to go up this trail to the peak, loop back down around, and then maybe go down and hit the road by Mount Sagamuk, work my way back around. From the trailhead below, it's quite a steady climb, so I took this chance to cool down a bit. Don't want to work up a sweat too much, or there's nothing worse than a cold day and being wet underneath and getting cold. So the only animals I've seen any sign of so far are some squirrels, and I heard some chickadees in the trees, but nothing bigger than that. They're probably in keeping warm where they should be on a day like today. Well, I hope this comes in good. You can start to see Sagamuk Mountain through the trees now. Since the last junction, it's been quite a strenuous little climb up over Hardwood Ridge. Good thing about the hardwoods, they don't have leaves this time of year, so you can just see down through them. Not sure if you'd see the same thing in the summertime, but it's quite a view when we're starting to get up near the peaks. Looking across, if you pan over, that's Sagamuk in the distance there. Then you can see the lake down below, Nicktaw Lake. If you ever camped here, you would have camped right on the side of that. Some big old hardwood, some dead, some alive, some with lots of woodpecker holes and stuff in them. And looking back, I'm not sure what that peak is, but it's the one in between Mount Bailey and the lake. And some more big hardwoods here, so I'll keep climbing up to the peak and hopefully have enough battery power left to finish the video up there. Here's something interesting I found on the way up the last time. It's dusted over with a bit of snow now, but what you see from the bottom right hand side down in here up to here and all around that tree, I don't have wider angle lens or I'll show you more of it, but it's all that's left of a partridge that didn't quite make it. All it is a bunch of feathers around the whole tree, so, and that's the only thing that's left of them. So There's a little bit better view up top of the ridges, the hardwood ridges, plateaus here. I'm almost to where I left off a couple days ago. Looking through the trees, there's some really cool old trees that are crooked and different shapes and stuff. But looking through the trees, you can see clearly the frosty tops of Mount Sagamok, which I hope to get back to this summer. Well, this is as far as I made it last time, so anything beyond here I guess is new to me. The reason I know that, it kind of plateaus up above the hardwood ridge. As you can see here, there's these two big humps. Must be rocky outcrops. And you can see one further back here. Plateaus, and then you can see ahead that there's another ridge to climb before we get to the peak. But the views are opening up and they're absolutely beautiful. Well, I'm going to try this again. I just tried to take a video here on a little side trail near the peak. Not sure, I think there's another view off in another direction, but this one's absolutely just wonderful view. You can see everything from Mount Sagamok across to the fire tower on Mount Carleton, and then up the valley, through the valley with, I think it's Dry Brook up through the valley. I'll pan around and let you see the whole view. Starting with, you can see Bathurst Lake right in the center of the screen there. Scroll across, there's Mount Sagamok across the valley. There's a trail down through the valley there that crosses over from here to there that at some point I've got to hike. Across the plateau between Mount Sagamok and Mount Carleton. And then you can see Mount Carleton coming into view right there. If you look across, you can see the peak of Mount Carleton and the fire tower right on that peak. If you keep going, look through the valley here. I don't know if you can see it from this angle or not, but if you look down through the valley there, you can see bits and pieces of Dry Brook. I think it's kind of behind the trees from the camera there now. Well, I think there's enough battery power left in the camera to conclude this trip. I've took a time-lapse video of the sun setting, but I'm losing light fast. I went up the trail a little when I was doing the time-lapse. I found the junction of the other trail, Bald Mountain Brook. If you look down in the valley, I think you can see Bald Mountain Brook there with the snow on it. Looking across at Sagamok, Mount Carleton. I'm going to take a few more pictures before I take off. But at the junction I realized that I'm not even that close to the peak. I can almost see the peak over that way of Mount Bailey, and it's another 800 meters that way. So won't be getting there today, won't be taking the junction trail down the Bald Mountain Brook. Good news is I have to come back another day to map that out and take lots more pictures. Love to stay and do some Star Trail time lapse, but at -30 I think I'd be better off in the summertime doing that. I figure I got about another hour to get down to the car, and I'm losing light fast. So hope everybody enjoyed this podcast. I know I enjoyed the trip, and hopefully everybody will take this podcast and be inspired to get out yourself and visit some of these fascinating areas. The views are absolutely magnificent.